Hi, I'm Rob, and today we're at the Cricketers Inn in Kingsley. From the delightful, I think, 19th century Cricketers Inn, our walk starts going through the car park and alongside the pond. But first we're going to look at that church up on the hill there to the left, slightly off route but worth a look. So we pass the Kingsley Centre on our left, continue up the road to the church. So, All Saints at Kingsley, it's not very old, it's 1876, it's a Victorian early English style church, but it's quite pretty sat on the hill here. And it looks down across the village to the pub and the main road, and sadly it's not open today. Back on the walk route proper, and they've got a lovely board in the car park here for circular walks that link in with all sorts of other walks, so you might want to screenshot that. I've got an information board about Kingsley Common. It's 41 acres, and the name Kingsley derives from the King's pasture, or the King's meadow. Big pond. I wonder what fish they've got in there. It's a chilly old day, I don't even make it out, but there's actually a very, very thin layer of ice on the pond. So after a little stroll along the pond, just look for a passage back to the main path on the left, and there's one here. And we're turning right. Just keep following the broad path. And the trees bereft of leaves because it's the middle of January, but look at the lovely moss all along the bark, on every branch and twig. Oh, that's beautiful, isn't it? This part of the path is all moss. Moss and a sandy path. And that's probably the biggest industry in Kingsley is sand pits. So it's actually very new forest-like in places. It's trees and paths. It's a sand heath. It's very, very nice. Yeah, like this. We've got some houses on the edge of the common. We've got a path leading straight on, and we've got various paths that go up sort of alongside these cables, but our path is straight on. A very gnarly tree, and this little junction of paths, the wiggly one there, look. Imagine it was a roundabout. You're taking the third exit, which is this one down here, which sort of leads back on itself. And this part of Kingsley Common is called Gold Hill. Kingsley Common is owned jointly by the MOD and the Hampshire Wildlife Trust, but as far as I can see there's no problem with access, so you're free to roam here anytime. It's lovely, like an enchanted little wood with these mossy trees. We're underneath the power lines again, and we go sort of leftish to follow the path along, right underneath the lines. There are other options that way, but we ignore those to go straight on to the left. At this little triangle junction we go right. At the sign of the hat and the sandiness, we go to the left. Now it varies. On the board it said the common's 41 acres, jointly owned by the MOD and Hampshire Wildlife Trust. On the internet it says it's 100 acres and it's owned by the RSPB. So take your pick. Either way it's a nice walk. So just keep walking down this little canyon, whatever. Just follow the path round. So come across some badger sets. Let's have a look. Maybe he hasn't come out. He shouldn't do, he should be in there sound asleep. I've got a light on my phone. It doesn't illuminate much. He's in there asleep though, sound asleep I should think. As you emerge from the woods, there's a nice finger post there, or arrow post. There's a gate in front which don't go through, but we turn left. Big sign there, don't feed the pigs. I can only see one, big black one in the distance like that. Now we soon come to a little bridge, it crosses over the Oxney stream, and we're going to follow on left where those ladies have just gone with their dogs. So after a short distance you reach this path, and it looks like you have to go down this tarmac bit, but it isn't. In actual fact, you walk through this field, you can see the path, and from the hole in the hedge we cross this gravel path. Across this little rough bit to a green path over there. It's almost like a bit of pointless bit to the walk actually, because the bridge is just over there. So you could just as easily turn right after the bridge. But anyway, for the sake of the map and the film, we've done what we've done. And crossing the green path, we carry straight on onto the path over here. To head left along this path. Just keep going, and the stream is to your right, just keep it there. You're coming out of the little claggy wood, and following on this green path here. Over the little footbridge, and continue left the other side of the stream. An interesting little place. Well, it's a chicken house or what? That's a lovely old building. And just here, we cross the stream again. Over onto the main drive for the house. So there's the mill, we've crossed over the stream. There's a gate here, please close the gate. We're following the path across here. And we're heading for the gate. Once we're over the stile, we're heading off onto the old railway line there. See clearly it's an old railway line from the line of trees and the embankment going along. The railway line is private property, like the Bordon and Bentley Wildlife Conservation Scheme. They don't want you on here, but there's a footpath just the other side of it. But just a short talk about this line was actually a London and South Western line, and it was the Bordon Light Railway. That used to take you from Alton and Aldershot all the way down to Bordon, and off of this line was a branch line that went round in a loop to Longmoor Military Camp. It was Longmoor Military Railway. The railway opened in 1906, 1957 it closed to passengers, and 1966, like a lot of railways, it closed completely. Now the little loop line I was telling you about, the Longmoor Military Railway, you've probably seen that in films. It was used a lot in the late 60s for major feature films such as The Lady Vanishes, The Great St Trinian's Train Robbery, and my favourite film of all time, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It also starred in a 1956 Saturday Night Out programme for a derailment of a King Arthur class 30740 Merlin with 3 coaches. I'll have to have a look for that on YouTube. Right opposite there is a sandpit, which is now flooded and gone back to nature. But anyway, we turn left. We don't pass the private property sign. Instead we follow this little minor path off, and we take the footpath that runs alongside the railway. It's a real shame they haven't done the same as a lot of the railways in Hampshire and made a public right of way of it. It looks a lovely railway to walk along. And needless to say, don't try and get in the quarry and go for a swim. lots of warnings, but we cross the stile and we're going to follow parallel to the railway along the public footpath. So the train buffs, like the two marks, you know who you are. Look at all these original fence posts along here, look. Salivate on that. There's an old bridge left on the line, difficult to see from the path. I think it's got about 3 or 4 arches. I'll see if I can get a better view up here. If I hold up the camera, you can just about see over. I think there's 3 arches. It's difficult to tell though of all the undergrowth. So just keep on the path around the quarry, keeping the quarry to your right. It's a shame you can't see it, there's a big bank there. Yeah, it's quite nice looking at the water, but I banked it off and fenced it off. So coming out from the path, you keep as tight to the lake as you can, which means going right. This dip looks like maybe it was quarried in ancient times and just left to grow back to woodland. It's quite a significant dip, and we're just following it round to the right. And it's quite a busy road we're turning right onto, so keep yourself tucked well in. And that short Heath Common we've just left. So after a couple of 100 yards we're heading back towards Kingsley, and we take the track to the right, which is the driveway to Kingsley Mill. There's another piece of railway heritage. A little arch over the stream. Crossing over the railway again momentarily. Looks like it's a private garden, that part of it there. And then the wildlife people have shut off this bridge here and the railway. And there's a better view of the arch from the other side. We've finished this part of the figure of 8. Back at the mill again, cross over the little stone bridge and follow this path back. And back down the muddy path. At this point, instead of going the way we came, we take a left to cut off across the fields. I think they know they're being filmed. That's really interesting. We come back into the area of the houses. Danger MOD training area. Coming up the top of the path by Birch Cottage, and we turn right. And we're right on the edge of Kingsley Common again, and we turn left, and this should head us back towards the pub. And here we are. We're back at the lake, and there's a bit of a mist rising off it now. Lovely. So that was a lovely walk, a bit of abandoned railway, a nice lake, very enjoyable, only about 3¾ miles, so yeah, they're very, very doable. Anyway, if you like the walk, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Let's go.
That's quite a good boat. Did we go? Okay.
Nice, isn't it?
Yeah, let me get half
That I used to frequent as a nipper.
that aren't open anymore.
They're all bloody closed.
So many of them are a lot of the franchises are closed.